I'm Sheila Brummer with Siouxland Public Media News. A winter weather advisory is in effect through tomorrow morning for Siouxland. The National Weather Service says conditions could change quickly with freezing rain and snow expected. They warn the evening commute could be impacted, so motorists need to slow down. Today's forecasting caused the early dismissal of schools around the area, including the Sioux City metro area. Meteorologists predict 1 to 4 inches could fall with icing in spots when temperatures hover around freezing. Roads in northeast Nebraska were covered in ice. Southeast South Dakota pavement is wet with scattered slippery spots. And according to the website 511ia.org, it shows roads in Iowa are mostly clear, but again, that could change quickly. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has called for a review of the state's investments to determine if it has stakes in Chinese companies. The Republican governor has taken aim at the state's ties to China and claimed they do pose a national security threat. Last week, she banned TikTok, which is owned by Chinese company ByteDance, from being used on state-owned devices. Noem's office wants the South Dakota Investment Council, which oversees a $19 billion portfolio for the state's pension fund and other trust funds, to review its investments for ties to Chinese companies within 7 days. A leading Iowa conservative says conservatives across the country are tired of Republican election losses, and this week's special election in Georgia is another blow to former President Trump, who backed the losing Republican candidate Herschel Walker. Bob Vanderplatz, the president and CEO of the Family Leader, a politically active group of Christian conservatives, made these comments to Radio Iowa. The Family Leader will host an event this summer for 2024 presidential candidates, and Trump, who announced in November he is running again, might be in the mix. Vanderplatz said Republicans should avoid choosing a nominee whose entire focus is payback for what happened in 2020. Vanderplatz is encouraging Trump to endorse one of the other Republicans running to be America's next president. Vanderplatz has personally endorsed presidential candidates prior to the Iowa caucuses. He backed Mike Huckabee in 2008, Rick Santorum in 2012, and Ted Cruz in 2016, all of whom won on caucus night. After a fair amount of haggling, Sioux City officials were able to get the people planning a rally featuring former President Donald Trump to pay a $5,000 bill the day before last month's event. But the city is still waiting on the U.S. Secret Service and event planners to reimburse more than $11,000 in other rally costs. The biggest outstanding bill related to the rally on November 3rd is the more than $10,000 charge for police officers to staff the event that the Secret Service is supposed to pay. Another lingering bill is a charge of more than $1,400 that the company that planned the rally, Event Strategies, is supposed to pay for having emergency medical services on standby. The grant money awarded for the production of a Field of Dreams TV series in Iowa will be redirected to another tourism-related project. The TV series was to be a prequel featuring stories about characters in the Field of Dreams movie. In late June, Governor Reynolds announced the project was getting $6 million from Destination Iowa. That's a state grant program financed with federal pandemic relief money. Universal pulled its financing for the Field of Dreams series days later. The executive producer of the series told the Des Moines Register the project is suspended indefinitely, and his team did not want to keep the $6 million in limbo when it might be used on another project. A spokesperson for the Iowa Economic Development Authority says applications for about $28 million in Destination Iowa grants are still open, but the deadline to apply is at the end of the year. The Field of Dreams series was to be filmed in Polk, Boone, Mahaska, and Clinton counties. Destination Iowa grants are to reimburse expenses, so none of the $6 million in grant money was spent on the never-produced series. And the FDA has authorized the COVID-19 bivalent booster shot for kids as young as 6 months of age. The shot is available through either Pfizer or Moderna. Unlike the original vaccines, this booster offers protection against 2 strains of COVID-19. This includes the Omicron variant, which has been the long dominant variant circulating across the state. This comes as Iowa hospitals are seeing unusually high numbers of children who are seriously ill from respiratory viruses. This includes RSV, the flu, and COVID. According to the CDC, almost 16% of Iowans ages 5 and older have received the bivalent booster. And an oil spill in a creek in northeastern Kansas has shut down a major pipeline from Canada through the plains to the Texas Gulf Coast. The spill briefly caused oil prices to rise today. Canadian-based TC Energy says it did shut down its Keystone system last night following a drop in pipeline pressure. The spill happened about 150 miles northwest of Kansas City. The company did not say how much oil was released into the creek or what caused the spill. For Siouxland Public Media News, I'm Sheila Brummer. Listen for our next newscast at the bottom of the hour.